just in regards to the defeat tonight, a bit of time to reflect on what happened and the way that we move forward as a club, as the fans. Um, wasn't the result that a lot of people was expecting to happen, but it is what it is, and football's a business. You win some, you lose some, you draw some, and you take the defeat on the chin, and it's the manner of the defeat has a lot of fans frustrated, annoyed, the lack of preparation going into these two crucial games, regardless of your opponent or the ranking of what country they come from, what league they come from. You take this type of game very, very serious, especially going away from home in a hostile environment. You have a lot of money to gamble on for the Champions League, and tonight was a very frustrating night to watch Celtic play over there, because you could just see that that team is broken. That team doesn't have a plan B, and I'll break it down to you in a couple of points. A couple of points. We'll talk about the team. We'll talk about the manager. We'll talk about the board. We'll talk about the fan base as well. It's it was a horrible one to take tonight, folks. A horrible one to take, and I want to get you as a point. I want to hear your comments on. You can say shy, you could say this, you could say that, but the realistic side of it is we didn't prepare in a very serious manner the way you would prepare for the team when you're in the Champions League phase. That kind of preparation. Brendan Rodgers loved the guy to bits. Brought us a lot of good moments. I know he's in his final year of his contract, but at the same time, some of his tactics are outdated, and it was very, very predictable what Celtic were trying to do on the ball. They were just trying to pass it from the back, trying to bring it out, hit both flanks. Wasn't effective. When you don't have Alistair Johnson as in that right back position, you're not going to get that chemistry up that wing. We don't have Nicholas Keown up that wing anymore. You're not going to get that chemistry the way you used to. And James started tonight. James Forrest was not great at all. He had a headed chance on goal. That's really it he done for the whole game. Yang was absolutely poor. Yang was terrible. I thought Carter Vickers was poor, to be honest, which is I've said it so many times on my YouTube channel. I think Carter Vickers has checked out. To be honest, he's checked out, and people are saying bring Ange back. Ange, this wouldn't happen under Ange. But the point is, a lot of things would have happened if certain managers weren't there and all. Love the hoodie. It's strange one last season we were in the Champions League, but it showed that what we can do, but we backpedaled by 5 or 6 years. 5 or 6 years? It's a bold prediction, but you could say that. Um, it's the lack of ambition, it's the lack of seriousness from the manager. I know he keeps calling out and he keeps calling out. Is it just a case that he's trying to cover his back in his own sanity that he hasn't been backed, or is it a case that his tactics are outdated? He doesn't have the plan B. He doesn't have the plan C. He just can't get a reaction from certain players. Is that what it is? Because you got to think about it. Majority of that squad that he's inherited is Ange's squad. These are the guys that went on and won league titles, won trebles, won doubles. And it is truly, truly embarrassing the way that we were beaten tonight on a penalty shootout, going over to Kazakhstan, having altogether, I think in the whole tie we had 7 shots on target for the whole tie. The 2 ties that we played with extra time as well. It just shows where we are as a club, where we have dropped as a club. You know, Brendan Rodgers, I'd love the guy, but there's a part of me saying he's 1 year left in his deal. He's taken the club the best he can, regards to success. He's won a treble. He's won an invincible. in his first term. He's won a couple of doubles in the last few years. His football is very backdated. Do you part ways with Brendan Rodgers? You keep him to the end of the season and then that's it. It's just, that's done. What do you do as a fan? Do you just, like, we're going to stand with the team no matter what, but it's the style of football. You want to enjoy your team playing good football. And some games in Scotland, Rodgers gets away with it with 3 or 4 nil victories. But we're going into another level of football, another tier of football where if you want to compete like you done in the Allianz Arena in February, you need to get a reaction from your players. You need to have that underdog mentality, regardless if you're playing against a team from Kazakhstan. You don't take teams for granted. You do not take teams for granted. And we took them for granted completely at home, took them for granted away. Look at the passing, the game. So much possession, but yeah, it was in our own. It was in our own half, passing it back between centre backs. That doesn't prove anything. That doesn't win you games to the level you want. You don't have. Where's that hunger of someone wanting taking the ball on? I've made it clear on the channel a couple of times over the last few weeks. Callum McGregor, he's aging. The engine's getting slower. He's not the box midfielder he wants to be and wants to show and lead by example. It's just, it's there. It's there. The evidence is there, folks. From the team to the board to the manager. This whole Celtic team this season is being shy. Yes, we are top of the league. You can sugarcoat that. We're into the League Cup. But the most important thing that a lot of fans look forward to every season is playing in the Champions League, playing in them big nights at Celtic Park, playing under the floodlights, playing against some of the world's best players. And you won't get that this season because that's down to the failure of Brendan preparing his team, down to the failure of the board not investing in Brendan's ethos of football, into trusting Brendan to get the right players in to take a crack at this. That just shows that the board are disinterested in Brendan's style of football. They may sit there and attend games, but do they really give it? Do they really care to the level where we'd like to see them give a reaction? Not really, not really. And some podcasts will sugarcoat it. Some podcasts will say this, and that. But the truth is, we were embarrassing. It was one of the worst results. Like, I remember going back to Ferencváros. Ferencváros they're a decent team, but we took them for granted, and they made a show of us. You look at Cluj, they made a show of us. Who else beat us? Malmo. I know these are all kind of teams that we've heard of. This team we never heard of before we got them. But the point is, you're in the playoff of the Champions League. We didn't have to go through 4 games before that to get there, or 6 games to get there. We got there because of the coefficient, and that's going to kick Scottish coefficient right in the teeth of losing to a team from Kazakhstan, losing to a team on penalties where we had a good few hundred fans that went over there and spent thousands to support our team. And what did you go back to Glasgow or wherever they're from? I was there when Celtic got beaten in the Champions League playoff under Rodgers last season. It's a hard one to take. It's a hard one to take. I ain't caring about the transfer deadline anymore. You shouldn't care about it, to be honest with you. I can't see Celtic being productive in the window. They haven't been productive in the window. They've got cheap sales. They've got loanee players. It just shows that it's the same malarkey every season with the board. Keeping the money for a rainy day. Well, guess what, Peter Lawwell? You said this back in 2020. This is the rainy day. This is the failure of you not backing your manager, not strengthening the positions where we sold in. That is down to you as well. And it's down to Brendan for not organising his team and not putting his team to the level where he should. Brendan Rodgers has been around long enough in the game to understand, especially being a Celtic fan, understanding the magnitude of what he was going into in Kazakhstan. Some people will say he thrown under the bus. A part of it, yes, he was thrown under the bus. But when you have your head against the wall, what do? You get the people around you that you deal with and work with on a daily basis. That's below the board, which is the players, to be on that journey with you, to fight for the Champions League. And they didn't. They didn't. We need a rebuild in every department. We need there's no point. I went for a walk. I had a thought about this. There's no point of saying sack the board. The board ain't gonna go anywhere. Dermot Desmond is not gonna go into Peter Lawwell tomorrow, even though he's the majority shareholder, and say, Lawwell, I want you gone. How long is he doing business with Lawwell? Over 20 odd years? Michael Nicholson, I want you gone. And then they'll just turn around and say, right, we failed in the Champions League qualification. We failed a couple of times over a few years, like Cluj, like Malmo. What other ones that stick out? Try to stick Ferencváros, but they still stuck by them, you know. Yeah, you see the John Cena one. My mate actually made that. To be honest with you, my mate David made me that. But I was gonna put up a picture of Brendan Rodgers holding the Europa League trophy for the laugh. But that's a giggle and a joke for another day, because people are at the heights of frustration tonight, and I completely understand. What is embarrassing so far, ahead of Rangers, yet we are better in Europe than us. Rangers have been better in Europe than us for the last bleeding, considering they did get hockey in the Champions League a couple of years back, and yet we got into the playoff, the Champions League. They have established themselves how to do well in the Europa League. That's why their rating in the coefficient is higher. The 30th in the coefficient, we're like 56th, and we're going to drop down probably down to 70th or 80th at that rate after getting beaten by Almaty tonight. But it's just sad. Just sad that we're at that state of affairs. Like, usually when you lose a match, you get so angry and frustrated. But this has been coming for a long time, folks. It's been coming for a long time, and you might think I'm coming across as being, oh, he's just a glory hunter. He's self-entitled. Oh, he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. Clearly, when you're spotting it for months, clearly when you're spotting it for over a year now, where Brendan's not being backed. The Brendan Rodgers marketing stunt of getting them back and getting his autobiographies and getting them back in the door and doing the Christmas ads and winning a couple of derby games, winning a couple of trophies. It's done. It's done. And as I said, a part of me is like, do we want to go through this season where we're in the Europa League, we're playing Thursday night football, our games get switched to Sundays, we're tracking back from some places, as we would be probably in the Champions League anyway, but we're playing Champions League obviously a couple of days to recover. I just think, will Rodgers leave? Should you cut losses with Brendan Rodgers? Should you? This is the question I'm asking you. It's not just the result tonight I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of not the contract, not the backing, not the plan B. Games where we were absolutely terrible last season, games we were terrible in the previous season. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not just thinking about just tonight. I'm putting out the perspectives. Why did Desmond bring Rodgers back? Because it was a marketing stunt. Because they wanted a reaction. Because they wanted safe hands. Because they were afraid to take a punt at Newton from Boda Glimt. That's why. So yeah. Oh, this is actually work now. Green screen. Well, let's see. No, I don't know if it works. How do you do the green? Is there anything you can put on the green screen? Knock it off. Hold on. Knock that off. How do I knock it off? I can't knock it off. I'm at the ruining it. Hold on. How do I knock that green screen off? Oh, hit live video. Oh, Jesus. Wait. There we go. There we go. There we go. We'll leave it like that. We'll leave it like that. But yeah, it was a... You need to leave that the way they want. It's just rough. Just rough. That we sold Kyogo. We sold Matt O'Reilly. We sold Kuhn. And we haven't replaced them boys. And we're lacking quality on the left with Jota being injured. We're lacking quality right back with Johnson being injured. We have a captain that's declining in his style of play. He's being figured out by a lot of teams, especially European level. And they're not even a European team. Like, that's a team that's literally rode a luck over 6 games and got into the Champions League, and fair dues to them. Fair dues to them, but my God, what an absolute shambles. It is an embarrassing night to be a Celtic fan, 100%. But, as I said, you say to yourself, what's next for Rodgers at Celtic? What's next? Does he ride out his contract? Does he take a good whack in the Europa League with some backing? Or is it a case where, okay, he just guides us to the league title, guides us to another trophy or a treble, and that's it. He leaves in that. Winning trophies is amazing. We can never take winning trophies for granted. Never take Hampden days for granted. Never take beating Rangers for granted. Never take beating any team for granted in Scottish football. But when you have 100 million in the bank, you should have gone to a new level. You know, can't keep relying on iPhone 4 forever. You have to move up in the times. You know, you move up with the times of football. And if Celtic want to be a business model, they have to invest in their team and put their money into the team, and the team will bring in more cash. And when you bring in more cash, when you invest in players, you invest in players that maybe 2 or 3 million, you'll make your 20 million back. But they need to play in the top competitions for them to make the big dollars back as well at times. And that's why we saw Keane for 17, because he scored against his former clubs in Europe. That's the question, Rory. And you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to be honest with you. If Rodgers leaves, who do you think they replace him with? Which top manager would want that job under that board? Transfers, can't bring your own coaching staff, correct. You're right on the money there, Rory. Good point. My honest opinion, if Rodgers was to leave tomorrow, or if they were to cut ties with Rodgers because a mutual agreement where he's not having to say transfers, he feels he's taking the team to the best he can. But even though he said he's going to stay for another to the end of the season, just say if he was to walk tomorrow, right? I think they would go down the route of Neil Lennon again. I think they would go down the route of maybe Scott Brown, Sean Maloney. I don't think they have the ambition to go down the road of actually getting... I don't think it'd be John Kennedy. Don't think John Kennedy be around the fold, but he won't be a Celtic manager. He'll be an assistant. Look, John Kennedy's highly respected by former players that's worked under him, and by the squad out there. And you know, Ange spoke really well about John Kennedy. Ronnie did, Lenny did, you know, Brendan has. Like, as much as people underrate John Kennedy, he must be a decent person to work with, knowing the club inside out and being a part of that coaching staff over 4 or 5 different managers just shows that, you know, he is an asset to have. But if you were looking to get a manager in right now, looking at what's out there, top manager, imagine we went for Jurgen Klopp. Imagine we went for Jurgen. It never happened. He won't come to Celtic. Imagine we went for Jurgen Klopp. He's pretty happy doing his Red Bull project, to be honest. Like, Klopp wouldn't go near Celtic, but just imagine that name being linked with Celtic. You know, he said he wanted to take a time out. He wanted to take a bit of time out of football and management. And I think Klopp will probably be the next Germany manager after 2026 World Cup. But now they'll probably go for Lennon or something like that. They'll go for the cheap option. They'll go for someone that they know. This is the problem with Celtic. Sometimes they don't like. They took a risk with Ange. You know, Green Eagle. Hopefully, this Bourne will learn from this lesson this time. I don't know Green Eagle, to be honest. I don't know if they will learn from the lesson. I don't know if they're ambitious enough to learn the lesson. But as I'm gonna break it down to you, it's a bit of everything. The board are the fault for not spending. Brendan is the fault for not organising his team and taking this team in a serious matter. His tactics are outdated, especially when it comes to that level of football. Against a poor side in Kazakhstan, you should not be beaten on penalties and gone to extra time. It's embarrassing. And having 7 shots on target in a space of over 2 legs isn't good enough. Is not good enough. You know, change needs to happen from the top down to the bottom. Change needs to happen. Look, it's not a crisis we're in any shape or form. It's about having an ambition. It's about having a clear mind, having a goal that you want. The league is the goal. The Scottish Cup is the goal. Scottish League Cup is the goal, but you want to compete in Europe and bring more money in. You bring more money in, you get more attractive players. You get more attractive players in, you get more cash in. You get more cash in, you start going another level. That's how it works. That's how it should work. But it didn't work like that. You know? How many late certs has it made it missed in matches has cost us victories? That was a big miss tonight. Look, it was a massive, massive miss. It was a big money miss on the 85th minute, days in my It really was, and it was embarrassing to watch. But a bit of karma was hitting us because, you know, it's the lack of hunger. It's the lack of hunger. It's the lack of ambition. It's the lack of drive from these players. Has Brendan lost his man management skills where he can get a reaction out of them? He should be getting out all of them. You know? It's just... You can't blame him, but at the same time, his job is to put a team out and come up with a result with that crop of players. And as I said, if it was a case earlier on that we were beaten 3-2 in extra time over 2 legs, or there was goals scored, I could say, right, fair enough, we were unlucky. But tonight wasn't unlucky. Tonight was an embarrassment. Tonight was mediocre. It was mediocre to watch. Mediocre to sit there and watch that unfold. Of pass back, tippy-tappy football from the back, not exposing teams on the flanks, not like they only start taking shots from outside the box toward in extra time, testing the keeper. It's fucking embarrassing. That's embarrassing, you know. So yeah, Europa League draws on Friday. It will be the Europa League is a hard competition, but it's money, and you'll have different folks and different podcasts and different people on different places saying boycott the games, don't go to the games, all that opinion, and everyone's welcome to that opinion. But what I say about my opinion is, don't turn your back on the team you love. If you have a season ticket, go to the games. You don't have to go to the European games if it's more money in your pocket and you're disappointed. Don't go, but go to the league games and support our boys. Don't turn your back on your team. Don't do that. That's just that team need you. They need the fans. They need the fans more than they need Brendan, to be honest. Let's be honest. Football's nothing without the fans, and if you're gonna boycott games because of the board don't care. They don't care if you don't turn up on a Wednesday night or a Saturday afternoon. Once you've paid that season ticket, that's money in the bank. That's money in the bank. Said before, Yang is the worst player I've seen us play for us. he was really, really, really brutal tonight, to be honest with you. Thought he played well the weekend, but I've seen worse players, to be honest. Derek Brahita, he's one, you know. Um, Missed out on a 40 million cash bonus, but the board are sleeping at the wheel, consistently waiting until the last minute every single season. They won't change. They won't change. Job for the boys. Job for the boys. That's the way it is, Mar. It's sad. It's sad to say, but that's the way we deal with. That's the way they deal with business. And I don't know. I just a part of me is like, as I said, I know Brendan has a year left in his contract. A part of me is like, if he's not going to be backed, we're not in the Champions League. His football's being exposed so much. Where do you move with Brendan? What's the next step with Brendan? You know, do you look in the market and say, right, let's cut ties with Brendan. Let's pay him out, and let's start scratch again and get a manager in. I know it's crazy to say that with when you're 3 or 4 games into a season. It's madness, but you gotta think as the long term perspective of it. If he's not getting backed with the board and we're at the fail in the Champions League, what's next? Is it gonna get nasty? Is it a case Brendan Celtic take a pinch on Brendan to leave like they done with 9 million when he left for Leicester? Is there gonna be something like that? Sorry, mate. How can Ida be picked? Brutal. Ida isn't good enough for the Celtic shorts. Simple as it is. And I don't want to come across as a glory hole in any ways, shape, or form, but you got a guy that's 9 million on his price tag. He's at the coming in on loan, performing on loan, comes in on a permanent basis, and can't do it. I just knew. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just knew when he was stepping up for that penalty, he was gonna miss it. That just shows the confidence I have in Adam Ida. And it's sad because I don't want to see players fail. Any player fail, regardless if it's a free transfer or a 9 million player. You don't want to see players fail. And Adam Ida isn't good enough to be a Celtic striker. Simple as. He had his moments of goals, his cup final goal, his 2 goals at Aston Villa, his derby goals, but he hasn't done squat diddly since, you know. Carl Mack was abandoning his duties, letting Ida go first. Well, this is the thing. We don't know what happens behind closed doors. And maybe Ida was practicing penalties and maybe had a bit of faith in penalties. But, you know, he missed it. He didn't go for power. He went for placement. And he got punished for it. Simple as. Green Ingles says bring Ange back in. There's no point bringing Ange back in because Ange is a lovely guy. He's stubborn as hell. Very honest as hell. Phenomenal football. Good character. But who says the board are going to back him as well? When you've lost out on 40 million in Champions League money. Are they going to use that 100 million rainy day money? Ange won't come back. Ange won't take it. The only team that Ange will take is a Premier League team because he'll be getting good wages. Like he's obviously one of the favourites to get the Nottingham Forest job. But what's the point? He'd be living on that sacking that Spurs gave him, that money. What's the point going back? What's the point going back to Celtic where the board are stingy? What's the point? Yet the fans will love him back. It'd be great to see him back, but the real logistics of it, he won't get backed. Look at the mess that he had to deal with when he came into the club. The mess that he had to go and chase players himself, do his own recruitment. You know, who's Paul Tisdale? He hasn't done enough. We haven't seen. There hasn't been enough dialogue from the Celtic board. Like they won't. You know, the Jays will be up for this one on Sunday. Well, let's not think about Sunday now. Let's just get over. Let's get over the migraine of tonight, the disappointment of tonight, and then we'll talk about Sunday tomorrow. I try not to think far ahead. I know it's the next game, and I respect your comment, Jim. I really do, but I don't want to think about Sunday right now. I just want to think about where did it go wrong, poor tactics, poor organisation, lack of ambition from the boards. Where did it go wrong? Some players not hungry enough. Some players well checked out. There's so much questions I just can't put together. As a fan, I can't put together, and this is why I do this YouTube. I like to hear you use that point across. Where did it go wrong? Be honest. Where did it go wrong? So Matt says the board have been stewing tonight, and sadly, I'm glad. Some people want, and as I said, some people want us in the Champions League to make a point to that board where, ha ha, told you so. You didn't back your manager. You didn't put the team. You didn't put enough into that team. This is what happens. I've had my fill of Rodgers. Celtic are nearly always a hard watch under him. They have been a hard watch, and this is what I'm saying. Like, as much as we get to May and we win the league title, there hasn't been a lot of comprehensive football over the last 2 years. There's been spells where players are well checked out. Look at last season. Players were checked out by the end of January. Players were checked out by the derby in January. You know, it's the truth. It's the God honest truth. So John says another team that should not beat us. The mob across the road. I can see it happening. I'm old enough to remember losing 1-0 at Ibrox, the first derby game after Lisbon. It's not acceptable. No, it's not acceptable. You're correct, John. And I know you've been around on this planet a long, long time, and you've seen some historic results and some good moments and some bad moments. But you would know tonight one of them is tonight is a big low. It's a big low because we were fair and favourites going into that toy. I'm just messing with these two cartridges, by the way. If you don't want to keep looking down. Going into that toy, we should have been prepared. Should be taking it like we're playing Aston Villa or someone like that. But we didn't. So Chris James, strength and conditioning. To be honest, all the players failed along either. Carter Vickers was awful. Thank God someone says Carter Vickers is awful because he has been shy in recent times. Ralston leaving gaps behind. Ralston is just not good enough at times to wear a Celtic shirt. Yeah, he wears his heart in his sleeve, but he's not technically the right back you'd want to trust week in, week out. Let's be honest. I know he's covering Alistair Johnson. Players don't look happy because there's a negativity. That the boss is probably being frustrated, talking the same malarkey, getting shafted by the board. But at the same time, the boss doesn't have that plan B. When the chips are down, what is he doing? Oh, just keep playing it before in the back. Like, this is what we're dealing with, Look, I don't blame him for being less interested. To be honest, it's when you're in a job and you're not getting, and you're saying to your managers, I need this, I need that, and they're not listening to you week upon week. Are you going to feel disinterested, regardless if you're being a football manager or working on the reception or working in Tesco's or driving a bus or whatever? You're going to get disinterested because your mind is not taking positive vibes. You're dealing with the media scrutinizing you every single week with the same questions. I know Rodgers has been around long enough to deal with these questions, but come on. Every single week. He does look like he's checked out. Some of the players look like they're checked out. Some of the players look like they've had their 2 years in the Celtic shirt, 3 years in the Celtic shirt, and they want to move on. That's the God honest truth. That's the truth. And some people need to wake up and realise that Carter Vickers is a prime example. Rio Atate is a prime example. Daisy Maeda hasn't been the same player just yet. His confidence is gone. Kenny in the last game, Shinamada had the ball in the net. It just shows that, like, Brendan's tactics is all over the shop as much as we like to go here. But at the same time, you made a great point about Yamada. Yamada played really well against Livy. He's a guy that's to come in as a fresh player trying to make a stamp. Ida doesn't care. Ida just can't. He got bullied off the ball tonight at times because he just isn't good enough. Simple as it is. Kenny scored in the last game because Kenny wants to play for Celtic. Kenny wants to go up another level in his career. He may not get to that, but he's trying. He's trying. Alameda isn't interested. He isn't interested to the level, you know. But yeah, that's it. So, folks, I'm gonna leave it there. I just said I pop on. I went for a walk with the dog and had a bit of time to reflect on it. And yeah, you're gonna get your happy clappers that just don't understand what's going wrong, and you're gonna get your fans like yourselves that can see where it's gonna be going wrong. Cal Mack should be stripped the captaincy for letting Ida go first. Who would you give it to? Tierney? We need to get Tierney up the full 90 minutes. That's the thing. Like we need he scored from an indirect free kick tonight. Just embarrassing, fucking embarrassing. You know, as I said, it's a bit of everything, Chris. The board, poor preparation from the manager, from the team, the coaching staff. There's a bit of everything there. Thanks very much, Deborah. It's a bit of everything. What has the failure tonight? You know, it's not acceptable. You know, well, Callum McGregor scored his penalty, and I know it doesn't really matter now anyway. But as I said, we don't know what goes behind Lennox Town with them taking penalties, and you know maybe Ida wanted to, you know, take initiative and say, you know what, I'll score this tonight. I want to make a point, but he didn't. It just wasn't good enough. Simple as hit him back in the face. So yeah, look, I'm gonna leave it there. Just pissed off, not upset. Kind of had a feeling it was gonna happen. As I said, had a feeling. Didn't want to jinx it, but I just had a feeling. I said it all week. There was a 25% chance that they were gonna do it last week, and then I said it was gonna be 40% chance that they were gonna do it. But you know, the words I'm gonna say, I know this cliche is a bit cringy tonight, and some years one might say, "It's not really the night to say this," but I'm gonna say it because I speak from the heart. You know, disappointment is temporary, but liquidation's permanent. Just remember that. Just remember that. So I'll come back on Thursday and have a chat with you. Take a day off tomorrow. Take a day off. Let's see what other people say. Let's put the jigsaw together. Let's see what other people analyse. And then I'll come back on Thursday. I'll do a podcast with you. I'll have a chat with you, and hopefully we'll have Balak Wisha and Sarachi in as well. And maybe, you never know, Jamie Vardy might decide, no, I don't want to go to Cremonese in Serie A. I want to go to Celtic. Probably won't go to Celtic because Rogers' contract could be in jeopardy. You never know. They may not want to sack him. They may not want to pay him out for the remaining months. But if he feels like he's taking the club, taking the team to the best he can, and even though he doesn't want to leave the club, there will be probably a question at the back of my head: what's next for me with this club? What's the next with me? Have a go in the Europa League. Last time he had to go in the Europa League, his head wasn't in it. His head was not in it against Valencia. Even in the group stages, his head wasn't in it, to be honest. So just go back. Just what I would say to you is, right, I know time has changed, and he went to Leicester and he came back and he's more transparent. But just look at Brendan Rodgers' expressions from tonight to the Valencia game back in 2019 to the Motherwell game. Just study it. Just study it. And it will make sense to you if we're going to have a Brendan Rodgers for the end of the season. As I said, a part of me is like, what, he's going to win us a league? We can get a manager in that can win us a league anyway. Well, he's going to give us a one Europa League. Gives us a run Europa League, he's gone anyway. What's to do? Like, what's to do? Like, best penalty. Let's move on from penalties, Chris. There's no point of talking about penalties and Steve. There's no point talking about Callum Mack and Ida. It's done. It's history now. On the wrong side of history. We're out of Champions League playoff, and we'll take it on the chin, and you know we'll criticise the players, we'll criticise the manager, we'll criticise the board. But one thing that we will live on with is that, yeah, we're in a good position in the league, but we need to keep that momentum and go into Sunday and, you know, shake the shoulders off, get a revenge in some aspect. It's not Carroy, it's Rangers, and they're not our closest rivals in any shape or form because they're in absolute shambles they are of a place. But we need to move forward. We need to move forward as a team, as fans, and that board need to wake up because transfer window closes Monday next week. I don't know if I can be able to get on to chat to you next week because I'll be in Santa Ponza and I'll be enjoying my holiday away. So if I can get on and if I get data, I'll be on for transfer deadline day. But I'll be honest with you, with them guys, if Michael can get his finger out and Brett, or if Peter and Dermot can actually be ambitious and want to move forward for the future, not for just this season, for the future of establishing and getting moving forward in the European perspective, you have to spend money. You know, this is on the board. Brendan Rodgers and the board a few weeks ago. It's on everyone. 70% of the board and 30% of the manager and the team. That's my perspective on it. 70% of the board is the blame for this, and 30% is the poor preparations, the poor tactics that Brendan Rodgers doesn't have to break down a team from Kazakhstan. Taking teams for granted, using your ego ahead of the main and most important thing is doing the job right. Taking teams for granted. They probably went in with that mentality. Oh, but it's like playing a League One team in Scotland. Oh, we're playing a Championship team in Scotland. They probably went in and thought like that, you know? No. Too little, too late. Exactly. It's done now. The result is the result. We're not in the Champions League. It's a wake-up call. It might be a blessing in disguise. I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that, but it might be a blessing in disguise because if we went into that with that team, with that lack of ambition, probably would have been scalped 4 or 5-0 in some games anyway. And you definitely don't want to be a Slovan Bratislava in the Champions League, do you? No, definitely not. Definitely not. So, right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. It was lovely speaking to you all. I hope I broke it down in more sense to you, you know. That's the way I feel about it, right? But lovely speaking to you all, and please just tell your pals and your friends about my channel. It's free to subscribe. I feel like I'm just not moving forward with the channel. To be honest, I feel like I'm stuck in the same rudder, doing podcasts, talking about the same thing. But yeah, I can't get forward with it. Can't get to the 19,000 subs. It's like 2 or 3 people away. It's like an uphill battle. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just too honest. Maybe I'm too honest. Maybe I'm not too sugarcoater. I don't like sugarcoating the truth. You know, I'd rather be honest and transparent, which is not like some people. Like some people over in nice mansions or nice cars that don't give you some conversations about what we're moving forward. Oh, you'll hear it in the you're here on an AGM or so, but look, just I don't give up. I'm not gonna give up. Definitely not. I've been through worse, and I've never given up on this channel. I love this channel. It's my second job. It's not even about money. It's about passion. It's about dialect. It's about giving you the honest opinion as my perspective. And you don't like it, but I respect it. But I appreciate it, Mark. As I said, I know what I know I can do. You know, it's been an absolute ride doing this channel for the last 4 or 5 years. And as I said, if I could do it every day, I would, but I can't. I'm just, life gets ahead of you. There are other things to be worrying about, and that's just life, It was my full-time job, like some other folk. Oh God, you just had me every day in it, I'm hoping new guys get in on Sunday. Same, we need a bit of change of personnel, a bit of freshness. 100%. Watch the last 2 qualifiers of Carrot versus Bratislava, and look how they played with no faith. They played with no faith and they won the 2 legs. That's it. They gambled. They gambled with not even breaking teams down. They gamble by winning fouls, not letting the team get in that rhythm of play, frustrating teams. That's what they done, and they done it well. And they're in the Champions League now, so they'll be able to build Bora a nice mansion. And I feel sorry for teams that have to go out and play 4 games there in the Champions League. It's a bleeding joke, but teams from Kazakhstan and Russia, and I know there's no Russian teams in the UEFA now at the moment. Teams from like Azerbaijan and Armenia, countries like that should not be playing in the Champions League. I'm sorry, UEFA. It's a money racket with them, honestly. But fair play to them. They're into the big competition, and they'll probably finish bottom. But look, they done what they done. Simple as. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'll speak to you all soon. Hell,